Alright, so I'm going to try and just explain this a little bit the best I can. The first thing is you want to put the shield on as late as possible to give it as long life as possible. The shield does a noticeable amount of damage to the boss and stops you from dying, of course. So don't put the shield on until you've passed the last tank on the bridge. So that's the first thing, just to make sure it lasts. Second thing, go under the bridge. It's quicker for when you're hitting cutscene. Next thing, the moment you skip the cutscene, you're going to start holding to the right. So I already am turning the camera when I gain control. I don't start moving straight away, but I do start strafing. I hold strafe and pull hard right. And then when it's far enough, I take a step left and I aim for this slope, and I specifically aim for this orange right here. I assume I hit it right here. Yeah. Now, this is a proxy which is a little bit different to the rest of the proxies. So most proxies, you want to throw the decoy a little bit before you hit the slope, or even like as you hit it, or a little bit before. This proxy's a little bit different. So if you pay close attention, and I put it onto a really slow speed. I don't know if you can really see it here. It's less relevant for this one. But you'll notice I'm in the air. That's the main thing here. You need to start in the air for some reason. Like, just say I charged along this side and then did a hard turn left. That would work for most standard proxies. But in this situation, I actually can't do that because you need to be slightly in the air when you throw the decoy. So a little bit raised. So where I am here, I can then throw the decoy and get the proxy. Obviously, it's a double proxy. You then, as you go up, so you'll notice I do the proxy. So proxy, proxy. I then, just before the top, I do a little loop with ratchet. That stops you from ledge grabbing, because with this strat, you gotta take note that it's like a cycle, and you've got to hit that cycle. Granted, right now he's in a certain animation where he's shooting, and in that animation he doesn't move. So if you do mess this up or get a ledge grab, as long as he stays shooting, you're actually okay. That's how you know. But yeah, so you want to do that little turn there, and then as I go up the proxy, you'll notice my camera angle has changed a little bit. So I pulled it a little bit to the left, a little bit to the side. And so what I can do with that is now, because I've turned it a little left, it's more obvious when I show you the full speed one. So let me show you the full speed clip. So there. And then you see I touched my camera into the middle of it. So what that means is I can then just hold pretty much hard back. It's not quite hard back, it's a little down right. It's like 5 o'clock. You learn to just judge that based on the camera angle, because you learn where the other building is. And then you basically just know based on your angle if you're going to have to side flip left or right. Obviously left, and then getting caught in this little corner here is quickest. Because you get stuck there, and that pretty much lines you up for this. And now this proxy is the second one, kind of similar, where you have to be in the air. So if I slow it down again, you'll notice before I even threw the decoy, if I show you, I kind of throw the... This isn't a great example because I did it so cleanly. It's easier to see when you do it less cleanly. But basically, this slope starts a little bit high. You don't want to just... You can't cancel early and you can't cancel exactly on. You almost bonk. When you would normally bonk on both of these walls for proxying, you've got an extra 3 frames-ish. That's just a guess. I'm just throwing that number out there. But you've got an extra little bit of time before you bonk. And that little bit of time raises the height of your proxy. Oh, it raises ratchet a little bit, which allows you to actually hit the proxy. Other thing to note, you need to actually be between the... well, you need to be on this little pillar going up. You can't proxy on the sides here. And you need to be as flat with this wall as possible. That's as perpendicular, I should say. So yeah, with that kept in mind, you then do the first, and then the moment you've thrown the decoy, so you're holding forward on that proxy, and then you're instantly starting to mash square and hold backwards. And that gives you the wrench swing, and then you double jump up, and you start pulling to the left a little bit. So you'll notice I start pulling to the left. Oh, actually, here I went dead forward. Usually I pull a little bit to the left because it's a little bit safer. And then I take a step. So let me show you that again. So I land. I take a little step to turn around. Yes, if you're wondering, couldn't you turn around in the double jump? The answer is yes. However, I take the step to turn around because with this set of movement, it gets it so that as I charge off blindly, he's going to be right where I want him. So it's just like, it's one of those things, if you play a sport, for example, I play tennis, you don't necessarily need to do the exact same thing before your serve every time, but you do because it's a rhythm, and that same rhythm will do the same thing every time. It's kind of the exact same thing here. Because he moves in the same way every time, if you do the exact same movement every time, rather than just trying to go as fast as possible, you will have consistency. So this is the fastest possible movement for him to get to where he is. And so I've just fitted my movement to be consistent within that. So you'll notice he's there, and then he starts turning as I drop because of where I am. Then I land, I pull out the Lancer. And now here's the bit where it gets a little bit, well, the poking here is actually pretty straightforward. So you basically, I start holding strafe. I pull the camera down because that gives you a little bit of lag reduction. It's not noticeable that much, but in all of my timings, it saves about a second, in my experience with hopper bomb poking. Don't know if it applies here, quite honestly, but I do it anyway. So I hold down, I hold circle. You don't need to tap or anything, just hold circle with this, with the Lancer. And you're basically lining it up, so you're strafing and you're pushing Ratchet forward into his hitbox. Between the two legs, you're right on the crotch. Crotch does a little extra damage, so you want to be shooting into this green zone down here. And you know it's working because you kind of get cycled out with his breathing. You'll notice his bobbing up and down a little bit where my mouse is. And you'll get pushed out a little bit with that. And you want to keep pushing forward into it. And if he does that like that, there's a little bit of RNG, but that's okay. It doesn't really lose. It loses you like a half second before you realize and react to turn. You just turn and shoot in there. It's not quite as much damage, but it's good enough. And that's how you do poking. So yeah, there is a little bit of a safer route, which actually, let me see if I can pull it up really quick. It'd be in one of my obsolete runs. It would be like, it'd be here. Yeah. Okay. So the route I do here is also able to be used in APB. Now this route loses about 5 seconds. So this proxy route where you go up the sides of the buildings, it saves about 5 seconds over not doing it. So in total, this strat saves 21 seconds. However, you could save 5 less, but still be saving 16 and do the easier strat, or at least most people find it easier. So all that looks like, you actually go under. I just didn't know it at the time that going over is slower like that. But you go to the left here, and you need to make sure it's quick. Like, the big thing you got to stress is you don't have downtime with the moving the boss. The boss moves a set way based on where you are, and you don't want to stop, because if you stop, he'll take an extra step or something, and then he breaks the bridge. And that's when you have issues. So yeah, so you do that. I walk instantly onto the second pad. Then I land. Now, obviously, this is NG+, but it's the same thing. He then flies around this way, and then I charge when he, like, hits... So you see, I charge when I see him passing the start of that, or it's, like, into that building. I land down. And then you'd do the exact same thing here. You'd pull out Lancer, you'd do shield. I was a bit more scared here. I didn't understand how it worked as much. So I did it slowly, but you could just land and turn around and you would have been fine. Whether or not he's kind of off the bridge, dead center, you know, up, down a little bit, it doesn't really matter at all. It'll work just the same. So yeah, so this route loses about 5 seconds over this one in terms of just getting to the boss. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. I know it's kind of long and painful, but if you have any questions, message me on Discord. This is aimed at DylWingo.